Good morning. I'm George Kahn, and I'll be your host for today's Quiet Echo. A letter arrived at the Cedar Valley News this week from a woman named Jane. She lives in Tampa, Florida. Not a small town, a city of more than 3 million people. She wrote to tell us about her neighbor across the street. She had noticed his charger sitting in the same spot in his driveway for 8 days. A package had been sitting on his porch for 2. She thought about it. She worried about seeming nosy. And then she got brave, walked across the street, knocked on the door and said, "I'm not being nosy, but are you okay?" He had been sick for 2 weeks. Terribly sick, he said, just crawling out of the hole. He thanked her, and then she reminded him of something that when the hurricane hit and she and her husband were out of town, he had taken photographs of their house and sent them so they would know it was still standing. No trees on the roof. Everything okay. He went first once. She went first this time. I read that letter standing at the counter of the deli kitchen before we opened. The chairs were still up on the tables. The street outside was quiet. I read it twice. I want to tell you something about coming to Cedar Valley. When I arrived here, I did not know anyone. I had my faith and my family's name and not much else. I did not know if this town would notice me, or notice me the way a town sometimes notices a stranger, with distance, with caution, with the kind of silence that says, "You are here, but you are not one of us." The first time a neighbor knocked on my door just to ask how I was doing, I did not know what to say. Not because the question was hard, because nobody had asked it like that before. Not here. Not yet. That was a long time ago. Cedar Valley became home the way a place becomes home slowly, through 100 small moments you barely notice while they are happening. A wave across the street. Someone who remembered what you told them 2 weeks ago and asked about it. A door held open when your hands were full. But I think about the people who do not get those moments. Not because anyone means them harm, just because nobody knocked. In a city of 3 million, it is possible to disappear inside your own neighborhood. You can be sick for 2 weeks and have the package sit on the porch and the charger sit in the driveway and nobody crosses the street. Jane crossed the street. That is the whole story. Not a program, not a committee, not a neighborhood initiative with a name and a website. One woman who noticed something was off and got brave enough to ask. I have a counter at the deli kitchen. People come in every day. Most of them order the same thing they always order, and we talk about whatever is sitting between us. But some of them come in and something is different. They are slower. They sit a little longer. They do not quite finish. I have learned to notice, not to make a thing of it. Just to ask before they leave, "You doing all right?" Sometimes the answer is fine. Sometimes it is not. Either way, somebody asked. Dan wrote on Friday about Ruth Edmonds about the cookies she baked the night before the phone calls came, because she already knew somebody would show up. About the certainty you build by being the one who goes first, over and over, for 60 years. Jane in Tampa has some of that certainty too. She earned it during a hurricane, when her neighbor thought to photograph her house so she would know it was still standing. She did not forget that, and when the time came, 8 days of a charger sitting in the same spot, she crossed the street. The Cedar Valley News has a front porch, even if it is only a Facebook group and a mailing list. If you have a Jane story a time you crossed the street, or someone crossed it for you, we want to hear it. Use first names. Keep it short. Send it to the paper, because what Jane proved from Tampa is what Dan wrote about from Cedar Valley and what I have been watching from behind this counter for years now. The knock still works. It works in a small town. It works in a city of 3 million. It works anywhere someone is willing to get a little brave and ask, "Are you okay?" This is George Kahn, your host for today's Quiet Echo. Thanks for listening. Quiet Echo is part of the fictional Cedar Valley News series, written by Evan Swenson, publisher, publication consultants, and Claude Marshall, AI developmental editor. While the people in town are fictional, the national events they reflect on are real. Cedar Valley News has a new Facebook group. If you have comments and want to join the conversation, you are welcome. I will put the link in the show notes.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News.